Straight ahead on 12 News, a critical issue facing local schools.
That there is a dire need to have staff members in our buildings that reflect the racial diversity of our communities.
That has the attention of state lawmakers, plus the crucial role of fathers. We'll meet a Brooklyn Park dad who received a prestigious honor to spread the message of family. But first, terror in Belgium and a former Golden Valley state representative who lives not far from the disaster zone. 12 News starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. People all over the world, including right here in the Northwest Metro, are reacting to terror attacks in Brussels.
A Tuesday morning, 2 bombs went off at the international airport in Brussels, and another blast occurred at a city metro station. More than 30 people are dead and at least 80 injured. And former Minnesotan Representative Ryan Winkler lives in Golden Valley and also in Brussels. Reporter Sonia Goins has more on what he had to say.
The images are hard to watch. People crying and scared after 2 explosions tore through the departure area of the airport. Ceilings collapsed and people were trapped inside the airport. Former State Representative Ryan Winkler watched the drama unfold from his home in Brussels.
Well, it was totally shocking and hard to believe at first.
Winkler's family is safe, but he knows things could have been much different. He and his wife often travel between Golden Valley and Brussels.
If this had happened yesterday or the day before, we would have been caught in the middle of it.
Winkler also lives near where the blast occurred.
Very close. First of all, you can basically see the top, the airport tower from our house, from my son's room, so that's geographically close.
He's following American embassy orders to find shelter and stay put. He's also trying to explain the senseless attacks to his 3 young boys.
Of course, they're concerned about safety and want to understand why people do things like this, and there aren't always very good, simple explanations for that.
Winkler says he won't let terrorism consume his life, but he is on the lookout for anything suspicious.
We watch carefully, avoid crowded places when the threat is higher, and try to live our lives as normally as possible.
While the blast occurred in Europe, terror expert Jack Rice says it impacts everyone.
If we look at what al-Shabaab has successfully been able to do in the Twin Cities, and this is a very real concern.
Meanwhile, both Winkler and Rice say it's a bad idea to target Muslims.
You need to focus on law enforcement and national security and stopping violence from happening, and turning it into a religious war would only make things worse.
Now, we also just heard from a Brooklyn Center pastor. Pastor McKinley Moore of Jehovah Jireh Church of God in Christ was at the airport when the bombings took place. He was at a different gate from where the explosions occurred. Pastor Moore says he's safe and grateful to be alive. He was evacuated out of the airport. He says he had to stay outside in the cold for several hours until he was moved to a warehouse where the Red Cross is assisting. Mike and Alex, the pastor, doesn't know when he'll be able to return home, but he hopes to get back home soon.
So far away, yet so close to home at the same time. Thank you, Sonia. Now to a critical issue facing schools, a teacher shortage.
The head of Osseo area schools was among those who testified on the issue today at the state capitol. As Eric Nelson reports, proposed legislation aims to fill gaps and help recruit teachers to reflect diverse student bodies.
Our state budget always has to be balanced here in Minnesota.
From War Road to Winona, teachers are in short supply in Minnesota.
It really is going to need state intervention.
The shortage is real.
Your derivative is 4x cubed.
Especially in the northwest suburbs, where districts struggle to find teachers of color.
The teachers aren't reflective of what our constituent students are.
In the Osseo School District, teachers are 95% white, while 52% of the kids are students of color.
The need for a more racially diverse teaching workforce is critical.
That's why Osseo Superintendent Kate McGuire is trying to get legislation passed to help address the disparity and bridge the gap.
There is a dire need to have staff members in our buildings that reflect the racial diversity of our communities. Everybody needs to be able to see role models.
School administrators say becoming a teacher is not the magnet job it used to be, and passing the Teacher Shortage Act won't be an instant cure.
It's a good first step. It draws attention to the issue, begins to put some resources to the issue.
I think we took a step forward today, but more importantly, we heard from a cross-sectional, multi-diverse group of people that said, you know what, things need to change and we need to address it.
Even if this act were to be passed this year, it would take years till we really see the full effect and we increase the number of teachers in the profession.
Aye. Motion adopted. Thank you.
In St. Paul, I'm Eric Nelson, Channel 12 News.
The Teacher Shortage Act would provide grants to student teachers. It also would establish a teaching pathway for people who are experts on certain subjects but don't have a teaching license. Osseo Superintendent Kate McGuire says the greatest need is finding teachers for math, science, technology, and special education at the high school and middle school level.
Brooklyn Park was hit hard during the foreclosure crisis, but now city officials say foreclosures have dropped to pre-recession levels. Now the question is, how should the city continue its foreclosure recovery efforts? Brooklyn Park has worked with private developers to rehabilitate and resell more than 240 properties since 2009. Much of the money to do that came from a federal program that is ending. The Economic Development Authority will spend the next few months studying how effective it's been and how to budget for it in the future.
While the foreclosure rate is back to what we saw in 2005, we're still higher. We still have a higher foreclosure rate than the county average and in our peer cities. So we still believe that there's some work to do to make sure that we do not see foreclosures increase in the city.
Eric Hansen says the city helped rehabilitate homes prior to the foreclosure crisis, and the study will help determine how much to focus on the issue since the foreclosure crisis has ended. Meanwhile, Brooklyn Park could get a new look outside City Hall. The city's Economic Development Authority is exploring replacing its monument sign. It's 25 years old and needs repairs. Just to fix it could cost $30,000. To replace it would cost more, especially if the city decides to upgrade to an electronic reader board, which would likely push the cost past $100,000. The city will gather design estimates and then seek direction from the EDA.
A Brooklyn Park man is among an elite group of 24 people to receive the prestigious Bush Fellowship worth $100,000. Terry Austin will use the prize to spread the message about the crucial role that fathers play in the development of their children. Austin, the father of 2 daughters, is the founder of a nonprofit called Positive Image, and he helped start the annual father-daughter dance held recently in Brooklyn Center. Austin plans to write a book on the importance of fathers.
When we start taking a look at the dropout rates, the suicide rates, drug addiction in our community, I think it's a direct correlation between the fatherless that we have with some of our children. I think if more men begin to be a lot more responsible in our community, I think we can alleviate some of these disparities that we have.
In addition to Austin, Nashina Hussein and Larry Tucker of Brooklyn Park, as well as Giovanni Valise of Maple Grove, were also awarded Bush Fellowships this year. Coming up, a Maple Grove seminar on the nation's most common surgical procedure.
And then later in sports, 2 local girls basketball stars are finalists for the Miss Basketball Award.
But first, could it be true? Snow showers on Wednesday? There is a strong chance. We'll be right back.